Did you guys see me pop on here? Nobody? There's always something that goes awry. Ugh. It's like way too close. So how's everybody doing? Everybody good? No? Watcher? Ivy? Monica? Crime? Truth and Justice? Matt? Wombat? CSI, I'm glad you came. Haven't seen you in a minute. I was asking about you. Make sure you're okay. Junie, I haven't seen you in forever, girl. How are you? Lake, there's Lake. I think I saw Anna. Yep, Annie. Band. I need to start doing this more often because I always miss it. I always have so much fun when I come on YouTube. I'm glad, Junie. But I get so in my head about my research, which is a good thing. We all should be very mindful of our research and make sure that we tell these stories properly, because we all know how the rumors go. They're literally ridiculous, especially, with cases like Delphi. I know Madeline McCann has gotten a lot, and Mikelle Biggs sure did get a lot of controversy and crazy. It's just a part of true crime, I guess, but not going to delay. I am glad that you guys all are here. It makes me happy. Hi, Allie. We all kind of follow each other around in everybody's chat, so it's really cool to be a part of this little community. YouTube is a tricky one. It's not my favorite platform, but it is easier than editing podcasts. But I do want to make a quick note. In the link in the description of this video is my link tree. On Linktree, you can find every single place that I am at, because I don't predominantly do YouTube. I have a podcast that I do, and then I have a GetVokl with CJ. And on the podcast is where I have covered Nicole Bowen, Ray Hainish, and Shannon Polk. I am getting ready to do Dakota Kelly. I just have had some issues lately, health-wise, for myself, my daughter, and my doggy. So we have just kind of decided to take a break from a lot of the things that at the end of the day, we can take a break from, but we can't take a break from spending time with the people that we love while we have them. And my doggy, he is 11 years old, so I know he's old, but it has hit me really hard. He has cancer, and he's in liver failure. So he doesn't have very long, and I have just been hanging out with my buddy. I know anyone that has a dog, I don't even need to explain any farther, but he was my first dog and is my first dog because he's not gone yet. But he is super special to me. Hi, Amber. And he's a Doberman. That's his name, Doe P. Berman. And my little one, she was only 4 when we got him, and she was like, I told her, we're going to go get our puppy from the vet. We rescued him. It was a vet that we're friends with. Someone just threw him outside in the winter in front of their front door. And luckily he stayed by and didn't get hit by a car. And so they called us and we went and got him. It's a little bit more complicated than that because I do have, I'm not even going to get into it. We'll be here all night. But when I told her, I said, well, we're going to go and get our puppy, and he's a Doberman. And so when we arrived, she got down on the ground and got in his face, and she's like, "Hi, Doberman." And she's like waving with her little fat hands. Hi, Doberman. And I'm like, no, that's his breed. Um, that's not his name. And she's like, nope, that was his name. So Dopey Berman it is. We spelled it Dough just to, I don't know why we did that, but yeah, so he kind of became our protection dog because he's definitely would never let anything happen to any of us, which is, pretty standard with the breed. They're working dogs, and he became a working dog in all kinds of other ways, all on his own, because we definitely didn't know how to train him. Thank you guys. I really appreciate that. But he ended up being a emotional support dog and a medical alert dog. And when I say medical alert dog, that's exactly what I mean. We didn't even know what he was doing, but anytime you started to notice a pattern, he would sit down almost in a guard like position in front of different people. I'm like, why does he do that? And he wouldn't move. I mean, even to the point where he'd be so tired, he'd be like doing this kind of stuff. And then next thing you know, that person would get sick. And so, or have a bloody nose or have an episode of really bad apnea. My daughter has hypoventilation. And so just the buildup of like carbon gets to her at night. And so he would wake me up. And then whenever he sat down in front of anybody, we knew they were going to get sick. So it was pretty great. And he stayed with them the entire time they were sick. So, and he's also a rescue dog. Like he rescues bunnies and squirrels and fish and anything living. He's just pretty great. My dog knew I had cancer before I did. Yeah. Yeah. He sniffed out a baby. And differences in, I don't know what it is. Like I said, I have no training in it. I didn't train him, that's for sure. But it was just crazy of how this dog just literally became like another mother I could rely on. Because with my daughter, oh my gosh, I never slept. I still don't. But when he's around, I can always sleep a little bit better because he's going to wake me up. But anyways, so that's what I've been doing. And I love talking about my dog, so I could go on all night, but I won't. I am going to be bringing on Matt. Me and him kind of met through Delphi, and we started off just kind of chatting. Then we started off doing some FaceTimes and Zoom. And I love getting perspectives from people that are not necessarily in my own circle of being a Hoosier. Whether it's someone from Oklahoma, someone from Arizona, wherever. I love to hear the cultural differences that define us as humans. And with Matt being from the United Kingdom, I found it so interesting to go back and forth with him about the differences in the way we talk, the way we eat, the way we live, the way our justice systems work. And so I thought we would do a couple true crime stories, which he doesn't like that word. So we'll ask him about that. I don't really like it either, and I don't really understand it. True crime. Was there a false crime? Is there like false crimes that I don't know about? I don't know. I had a dog that knew I was in labor before I did. Oh, wow. That's awesome. Yes, Wombat. They're amazing. And I love animals. And I was actually thinking about more so maybe on the podcast, but I'll do it on YouTube too, and probably my page. And if you guys want to, feel free to friend request me on my Facebook. And that way, you can share it. I think everything's public, but it's all because I want you to share it. And so you don't ever have to ask me. It's all going to be shareable. And if it's not, it'll come with like a big, like, don't share. This is just me on my Facebook. But I also have a group on Facebook. So I'd love it if you guys would join and start interacting. I don't know how to do that. Like, I don't know how to I guess I'm not super great at getting conversations starting, but I started Cold Truth Podcast because I wanted the victims to have a place that they could go, a community that they could go to for help. and conversation, and just links to helpful things for victims, advocacies, and just any kind of information, discussion, um, whatever we want to talk about. New cases, I've gotten some, and I would love to start doing more. It's just time consuming. I work two jobs, and I do have a lot of free time. I do have to admit, I'm a procrastinator, but you know, um, I take this very seriously. And because I do take it seriously, I want to do the best work that I am capable of doing. And unfortunately, with OCD, it takes a lot of time. So I worked until 3 a.m. last night, and then slept. And then as soon as I got up, I started working again. And me and Matt went from 10. We were going to do 10. I don't even know what we were thinking, to 5. And then, or yeah, 6 apiece, 3 apiece, and then down to 2. Cause I was like, today I literally couldn't. Ivy sent me a case, and I was going to cover Brian Lawson, and I started reading, and I was just like, oh Lord, this is so complicated, and I never really looked much into his case. So it's like, yeah, I think I'm just going to have to tell Matt it's 2. But luckily Matt was like, well, I'm glad you said that, because I'm like struggling to have the time to get another one too. So, yeah, I watch her. I was like, I don't even know what I was reading. I was so confused. Like the brother and the cops and yeah, Brian Lawson, Ivy, the one that you were sending me links for, I was reading, and then I fell asleep. I fell asleep in the middle of reading. I don't even know how, because I was just like, what? Like, what? I don't even know. I need to finish reading the article, because I fell asleep and didn't finish it. My Amber says, wrong button. My pillow caught fire, and I didn't even know. He pulled, oh my God, the burning pillow off the bed, and that's what woke me up. Oh my gosh, he literally saved your life. And the thing with, but I do, that's what I was going to talk about. Sorry. It's 4 o'clock for me. And so, like I didn't take my medicine today, because I knew we were going to be on, but well, I did, but I took it early. And so I don't know. I think I'm just nervous. But so excuse me if I rabbit trail. That's just kind of who I am, I guess. Medicines only work so much. But I thought about featuring like a story like what Amber just said. How amazing is that? What Lake said. I mean, we have all of these stories with our dogs that are just so amazing, and highlight a story that someone could send me, and then have a link to a different rescue. Highlight a place that is doing above and beyond for animals. I know my sister travels worldwide quite a lot, or they did before COVID. And man, Peru was one that really affected her, and then it really affected me once I started looking. I'm just highlighting places that go above and beyond for animals, and how important rescue is, and getting these breeders shut down, especially the bad ones. There is a way to do all of that, and I can't. I just, it's hard for me to even talk about like breeding dogs, because it just gets me really upset, because there's so many amazing dogs that need a home, and if they're not rescued, a lot of them are they're put to death. And so they're so cute, and there's such a big difference between the dogs. Like both of ours are rescues, and because of my daughter, we have to be very careful of how we rescue, per her specialist. And so we had to wait for almost a year for our second little shit dog. Oh, he's a monster. We had to like add that into his name, because he's hilarious, but he is his own person, and he's like the cat dog. I don't even know. But there's they're so grateful and they're so just unique. And I want people to really consider those dogs. And they're usually a lot healthier. Mutts are a lot healthier. They really are. Think about humans. It's illegal for us to enter, why is that totally gone from my mind of what it's called? Incest is illegal, and it's illegal for a very good reason. I mean, I could show you some internet searches that I did on just the genetics of why incest is no bueno. But anyways, here comes Matt. He's nervous, so you guys make him feel really welcome, and we're going to get started, okay? I'm going to go first with my number 2, and then Matt, and then me, and then Matt. Okay, here's Matt. Hey, hey.
Hey, hey.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Oh, good. You got a different background. Is that a saying you got?
It is actually, yeah. It's my daughter's room. It's my daughter's room.
Aww. She's so cute.
She lives with the mum, you see, so she has a room here, but I'm using this because I know you said about the sound not being...
Yeah, the echo.
So hopefully.
Yeah, we got a good group today, Matt. They came. I think this might be a good time. See, Matt is 5 hours ahead. And so last night I was working until at 3 a.m. I think I got a message from you because it was just your wake up time for the morning. But I was messaging him at like 10 or 11. And he was like, in the morning, he was like, Mel, it's 5 hours difference. Like, hello, I was in bed. We forget those little things like that. But Matt, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? No address or anything, just a locale.
Yeah, I'm 10, 15 minutes from Manchester.
Okay.
So I think, people tend to mention Manchester because that's the known area across, overseas.
Mm-hmm.
If I over explain things, it's all right to point it out because, like I say, this is right out of my comfort zone.
I know. Matt and I are a lot alike. We're a lot alike. We're both very OCD. We like to do things really anally.
Yeah, I don't see myself like that, but I understand what you're saying. I think it's more like the procrastination and the trying to have something perfect when there is no real perfect way of doing something.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. We just say it a different way.
Yeah, that's cool. I've been on with at Incognito, and I've been on discussing basically one particular case.
Yeah,
which is current. So this is what I'm saying is this is a completely different scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So it's right out of my comfort zone, just so the audience know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and the thing is like Matt wanted to try. We've been talking about working, collaborating for quite a while, really, almost a year, I think. Matt's been working on getting, some of the equipment and all that. But it's hey, Ohio girl, I'm seeing all kinds of people I haven't seen in a while. I'm so glad you guys came out today. This seems like a pretty good time. But the things that we want to do is dissect one particular case. That's our comfort zone. So we definitely share that in common. But when we're trying to collab and just feel it out and see if we have I want to use the word chemistry, and I'm not talking like sexual or anything. I'm talking just mic to mic, our chemistry as far as creating together. So that's why I've pushed him into doing this, which I think is a really great idea. The global unsolved of the differences. We talk about the cases that are in our particular areas, but also how they're investigated, the differences in the judicial system, the differences in on all the way through procedurally, through trial, and all of that. I think it's really interesting to compare and contrast those, because what we all have in common, no matter where we live on this earth, is evil and darkness and villains, and they're everywhere. So we don't really. But how we handle those in our respective countries, I think it's really interesting. So, anything else? I know you said you have a daughter. Anything else? What work-wise, what do you like to do?
Work-wise, I don't think we've covered this topic before, to be fair. I was in the fire service, the fire and rescue service.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And I had some ill health myself. And I lost my employment.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I've then led into this. I've always had an interest in this, if you want, genre. I know you mentioned true crime. It's not particularly. I just don't think it's an accurate description.
Yeah.
You know, I like that. Again, you talk about the OCD side of things. I like the description to be reflective of what it's describing. And to me, true crime's just, I think it kind of diminishes it in some way, that it's that it's
right,
kind of an everyday normal, whereas a lot of these cases aren't normal. You know, no. They're really not.
And there's not a contrast word, you know, when you like to true of what false crime is there, like, you know, that's what I'm saying. It's you know, there's no contrast to it. So it's like, why is it called that? I don't know.
I was thinking about that when you was talking. So I'm kind of thinking maybe true crime covers it's difficult, really, because I think because it's real. It's real. It doesn't seem. It seems to put it into a different realm by using that definition. That it's. Yeah. It seems to lessen the severity, I guess, to me.
Yeah. Ben just said nonfiction true crime because, you know, and that's the thing is like, especially more so in books. I've never seen anyone like YouTube or podcast about fictional crime, but I'm an avid reader. Well, I used to be an avid reader of books of like fiction books on murder mystery. So maybe that's where it originated, was like with the difference between a fictional criminal mystery versus no, this really happened. This is true. And this has happened. But the word true, I like the word true. I don't know. Because I'm called Cold Truth, so I kind of like it.
Yeah, just to cover a little bit of the background, my background isn't a particular reading. I'm not a reader. When I say that, I'm not a reader of books. I'm a reader of articles. I'm a watcher. I'm a listener. Information. Yeah, I guess what you started off, I was smiling and laughing to myself.
I was like singing a song in my head. I'm a picker.
Yeah.
I'm a midnight. Yours like I'm a.
And I was like,
sorry.
Research.
Yeah.
Now, because it was defined for tonight as research, then it took on a whole different importance. So even though I've been researching and looking at other cases up to this point, when suddenly someone said, which was you, now you're researching, I was like, wow, what does researching actually look like and mean?
Quite different, isn't it? Because it's not researching like Facebook profiles or anything like that. I'm just talking about like case study research, documents, but comparing and contrasting the information that you read to make sure you have sources. And, I try to get at least 3 to 7 references for everything that I write. And so that's just writing. But I'm glad that you were able to do it, and we're doing this now. I'm excited.
Sure, yeah.
So
in terms of tech, because I know there's lots of button pressing.
Mm-hmm.
At the minute, I'm in YouTube Studio, so I can see the comments.
You should be able to.
Yeah, no, I can. I can see the comments.
You can. Okay.
So I'm just making sure that's the best. I'm better sticking in the studio part.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I always hear other YouTubers saying I need to get out of StreamYard and go over to YouTube, but I have no idea what they're talking about or how to do it. But I don't have like mods, so sometimes when, the people come in that just have other things you just don't want to talk about, which, I welcome trolls, whatever. I don't care. You can thumbs me down, you can troll me. I don't really care, but there are a few things that I will smash immediately, and I will not tolerate slandering victims' families unless they have been prosecuted, and obviously that changes the ball game when they're prosecuted, and they're the ones that hurt their own children or whatnot. But I will not tolerate it ever. And so that's really my only rule. Otherwise, do whatever the hell you want to. Are we ready to get started, Matt?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. My first case, and I'll pull up a picture, and I think I forgot to download, so I'm gonna have to just pull up my Facebook. All right.
This is the part that can get a bit technical.
My first case is this little cutie, Mikelle Biggs. She was born on January 2nd of 1999 in Mesa, Arizona. So, and then this is Madeline McCann. This will be Matt's next. After I finish, he will start with Madeline. So I just wanted you guys to see cute little Mikelle. Okay. Here we go. Mikelle Diane Biggs. Mikelle was the oldest daughter of Tracy and Darren Biggs, born on May 31st of 1987. Mikelle, her parents, and 3 younger siblings lived in Mesa, Arizona, in a neighborhood made up of their fellow church members, the Latter-day Saints, known as an LDS ward. So Mesa, Arizona, they have a pretty large LDS community, and they usually live all in the same neighborhood together. They buy it together, and they all live there. So that's what I'm talking about there. Hey, AK. Hey, Kaleidoscope. I'm glad you guys could join us. Okay, back to my story. Mikelle was cute as a button, as you guys saw. She was funny, she was smart, and she was a very talented artist. Unfortunately, the dream she and her parents had for her future would be nothing more than what ifs for her family and friends. Her sister believes that she would have been a famous artist if January 2nd of 1999 had turned out differently. That day, Mikelle and her sister Kimber had an ice cream truck. They heard an ice cream truck. They asked their mom for quarters and headed 4 houses away to wait for the ice cream truck. But the ice cream truck never came, and Kimber grew tired of waiting for it because it was getting dark and it was getting cold. But Mikelle was not ready to give up on her ice cream cone and decided to wait just a little bit longer. When Kimber arrived without Mikelle, her mom sent her immediately back to fetch her sister. Upon arriving at the intersection, she had just left. Little Kimber had just left. Kimber was 9. She came upon a puzzling sight. Kimber's bicycle that she had lent Mikelle was lying down with the back tire still spinning, along with the quarters on the ground. Both of these items were heading in the direction of her home, but no Mikelle. All of this took place in just 90 seconds. 90 seconds. Law enforcement was called and began searching immediately. Within the hour, the media, the neighbors, and the FBI were streaming in to help search for the little girl who had been abducted in plain sight in such a very short window of time. Think about that. It takes me 90 seconds to walk to my mailbox and back. That's it. That's all it took. And by the way, like, how long does a tire spin? I wouldn't guess very long. But as hard as they tried, Mikelle has not been found and no arrest has been made, even though they do believe she was murdered. Her little sister has vowed to never give up hope and know she is meant to seek justice and find her sister. She runs a Facebook page for her big sister. The link is in the description. And please, you guys, these sisters, and we know a lot of these sisters. 2 off the top of my head is Sarah Turney and Kelsey German. And this is not what they want to do with their life. This is what life has dealt them. And there's that before murder life, and then there's the after murder life. And I find it so encouraging, and for those next sisters and brothers that come along, to see people like Sarah, Kelsey, and Kimber fighting uphill battles most of the time for justice, because it is that important. It really is important what they're doing. Okay, back to it. Please join her Facebook group, though. I know that it seems trivial, but to someone else, a kind act, like just following a page, can mean the world to them, and to know that people still care. And so love wins every time. Just know that, and just do those little kind things that they may not mean anything to you, and you may not even know why it's so important, but to them, it's everything. It's literally everything. So join the page. There's been many speculation and blame strewn about throughout the 22 years that have passed. I'm going to give you some cliff notes to just some of them, because this is like a lot has gone into this case. And it's been a long time. And if you would like more in-depth, then in the description, there is a ton of links for Mikelle and my next case and Matt's that you can go and do a ton of more in-depth research. Thank you, Allie. I appreciate that. They do need it. Okay, so number 1, of course, the dad did it. And while law enforcement they had ruled him out, there are still those that gossip. I can understand why he came under the microscope, though. I really can. He lied about being at work that day. That's a big no-no. And then consequently, he failed a polygraph. He then confessed that he had been with his mistress. However, there was no way that he had time. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you want to fact check me, please do. You should anyway. It's prudent. But I'm not going to go into all the details of how he couldn't have done it. You'll have to find that somewhere deeper, and they're in the description. But while he had no time and he had no real motive. He had 3 other kids, so it's not like we're dealing with Chris Watts here or all the other scumbags that annihilate their family. But infidelity doesn't make someone an automatic murderer. But of course, there are exceptions to the rule. Just not Darren. Just not Darren, in my opinion. The next one is a little interesting. Susan Quinnett. And I'm sorry, Susan, if I'm saying your name wrong. And she was a victim of a home invasion, rape, and attempted arson. Attempted to light her on fire. She had a vision that her attacker, Lee Blalock, was responsible for the abduction of Mikelle. The vision, and I'm thinking psychic like vision, or I don't know. They're LDS, and she was a neighbor, so LDS. I think it might. I wish Swifty was in here. It might mean this. I think it's called, I don't know if it's called Fruits of the Spirit. I think it is Fruits of the Spirit. And I know discernment is one, and prophecy another. So vision I didn't want to say psychic vision because it could be something within their beliefs. I don't know. But anyways, it must have held some weight because, yeah, let me find my place. Mikelle's family and law enforcement, they took this very seriously. So due to the fact that this dirtbag lived nearby, poor Suzanne was a neighbor of the Biggs family, plus she barely survived his brutal attack. He has multiple convictions for child kidnap, molestation, and rape. His wife recanted his alibi once he was incarcerated for what he did to Susan, Susan, never mind, Susan, and if you think about that, he was the boss of his family, and when she knew she was safe, she did come forward and tell the truth, and I think that's brave. And according to people.com, when Mikelle's parents went to visit Blalock, he told them he was not guilty and that he isn't responsible for his other personality. Okay. That one's so wore out. Lastly, number 3. In 2018, a dollar bill was found in Wisconsin with, quote, "My name is Mikelle Biggs, kidnapped from Mesa, Arizona. I'm alive." But Mikelle was spelled wrong. Mikelle's name is spelled Mikelle, and this was spelled Mikel. So probably a hoax, and a sick one at that. This happened in the Shannon Paul case, and I know it happens in a ton of other cases. And man, I wish we could track these people down like they do those predators, like on the Facebook Live with the predators. I wish we could track down these assholes that do this to these families. It is so disturbing to me. Like it disturbs me so bad, and it makes me so angry. Who gives you the right to do shit like that? It's yes, like people are sick. Okay, coming back down. 5 years after Mikelle was abducted, they held a funeral for her and buried an empty casket. I hope that one day soon, Mikelle's family will be able to lay her to rest in that casket. I hope her family gets justice, and I hope that Lee Blalock rots in that jail cell. he's currently residing in. Regardless of his involvement in Mikelle's kidnapping, he's a horrible human being. If you have any information, please contact the Mesa Police Department at 480-644-2211. Again, Mesa Police Department, 480-644-2211. And please, reminder again, go hit that like and follow on Kimber's page for her sister. And I hope that she sees, how, I don't even know how many are in the chat today, but I hope she sees that exact number come in today and feels just a little bit better that she has people that still to this day care about finding Mikelle. And that is my first U.S. crime. It is really sad. I can't imagine that either. Burying an empty casket. And I do really, I hope one day they get to put her in that. And just for reference, I was listening to, I don't listen anymore because of a certain Draper brother, and it's not Tyler. I think he's really cool dude. I love his attitude and I love his work. His brother, not so much. You got to really do your research on these YouTubers, you guys. You really got to do your research. I find it very disturbing when, and I'm saying this because it needs to be said, okay? When you cover true crime and you have victims in your wake, especially children, little children, like 3-year-old little children, and you hurt those children, and you videotape it for your own pleasure, and you do all of these heinous things to that little child, don't fucking do true crime. I don't care who the hell I piss off. Don't do it. Stay away. It's sadistic and it's sick, and it makes you wonder, why are you doing this? Are you getting off on it? Because that's what I think of, and it makes me upset. But they're from that area, and when I was listening to the Draper brother that I do like, he has a cousin who is on the police force. And so that's what I was going with that before I got on my rabbit trail. But, that's where I heard about Mikelle Biggs. And I just wanted to mention that because I think his name is Chappie. I'm sure that's not his real name, but he was a police officer at the time that this happened. And over the years, he has worked on this case. And I know it was one of his ones that they want to get solved. Thank you, AK. I won't. Never been really good at it anyway. You can just ask Matt. You keep love first, and I know I saw you seem to be one that really does a great job at that too. I wish I could have your life. You guys are awesome. You and Gonzo and the traveling and stuff. I don't get to do it nearly as much as I used to in the mountains. I love seeing when you guys go to the mountains. And, but yeah, I am brutally honest. And that's why my podcast is called Cold Truth, because there's a lot of cold truths out there. And that's one of them. And, if anyone has a problem with it, I don't give well, I won't say that word, but I don't. Because it is disturbing on many levels. And if you would like to fact check me, go right ahead. I ain't going to lay out all the information for you. It's all on Google. Same with all the other criminals that cover true crime. You can find out everything that you need to find out about them on Google search. So hopefully, that I know that is a cold truth, and it's probably not one that anyone wants to hear, but it had to do with this case and because of where I came about it. And yeah, okay, I'm Mel, and I'm going to stop now. But just be a good person, just do the right things and love people. But when you see something that is just wrong on a level that you can't let go of, speak up. The way I live my life is what I do during the day, can I lay my head down at night and sleep on that? Can I sleep with that? Which is probably pretty ironic since we all know I don't sleep a lot. But there comes a time in our lives when we look at things and we're like, wow, if I say that, or if I do that, or if I stand up for that, or if I don't stand up, am I going to be able to put my head on my pillow at night? By being quiet, it's being complicit. And I can't put my pillow down without bringing that up today. All right, Matt, you're up.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that.
Expect the unexpected.
Yes. I see that air case.
Well, and that's the thing is like what happened was they did talk about Mikelle Biggs, but it turned into a shit show because apparently like people think, yeah, we all have our human rights. We can say constitutionally, whatever. But for other YouTubers, like, I mean, you got to call that shit out. You got to, because what happened was it wasn't about Mikelle anymore, and this beautiful little girl. It was about him. And that was all that everyone was talking about on there. So we're not going to talk about it anymore.
No, it's interesting to hear it though. It is interesting to hear to hear that viewpoint. I have got my own views, and I won't air them because I don't think it's particularly needed at this time.
Mm-hmm.
But there always is a difficult balance. Oh, yeah, there's no way of following that, is there, AK? Thanks for that. There's always a difficult balance, I find, with this. If you want real crime YouTube genre, of kind of saying it as it is, still keeping people on board, but putting a few own truths out there.
Yeah.
Like you're saying about some of the people who say, for example, followed the Susan Morphew case. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. Some of the antics, some of the intimidation. There's a whole range of from kind of small indiscretions to major like perjury, really. And putting out false information out. Really to knock a case off track.
Yeah.
So is there?
I get what you're saying, Matt. I really do.
What I'm getting at here is
it's just like there's a difference between a sadistic, like with felony and records and losing your nursing license and all of these things, where because you've committed a crime against a child, you've committed a crime against a victim in general.
Absolutely,
if you go out, if you are committing crimes against victims, and maybe this isn't the genre for you, like maybe you could do, I don't know, like
but it is
online, like on YouTube, have like a YouTube about anything else, because it's sick. It's a little bit twisted.
It is.
There's always going to be crazy rumors and lies and spreading of this and spreading of that. And I ain't going to give that my fucks. I'm not going to give my fucks away on that. But like criminality in true crime podcasting and YouTube, I will give a fuck about
that. I don't know that side of it. I really don't. Because in a sense, I'm a newbie. No.
You are, yeah. So what do you got for us? Who do you have? Who's your...
I've got Maddie. I was just hoping you would bring the picture up of Maddie.
I sure will.
Yeah.
Oh, so precious. Cute as a button.
Yeah, if you saw, when we're kind of, it's only a small difference, but it can make a big difference. And the starting point for me will be, so we do the dates the other way around to you. When I say we, the UK, so that reads to me the 5th of December. From the UK point of view.
Oh, see, we're already learning differences.
Which, it can make something, depending on the situation, it can be more critical. It can make a big difference getting those the wrong way around. So that was the first thing I wanted to just point out.
So you put the date and then the month and then the year?
Yes.
Ah, so that's why you sent it to me that way.
Correct.
But see, we're already finding out differences, and I can see where that would be very confusing.
So I generally put the month in words.
Okay, for us Americans to understand it.
Well, I do. I adapt, and in a sense, I think it's a good form of adapting. It's because in this area, I think if you can keep errors to a minimum, I think it helps. I think a lot of these cases start off, same with Madeleine McCann, which I'm discussing. They start off with errors. Now, if those errors hadn't have been put out at the start, I believe you'd get a different investigation happening. So I'm comparing and contrasting, and you can get me off Susan Morphew, but Susan
Morphew.
Susan Morphew was the bike ride. That was the first reports. So we know that's pretty much a load of baloney. But it kind of it becomes a starting point for the case. So I'm trying to tie this into Madeleine now, and I've lost my thread now. So just refresh me there, Mel. What you was talking about the dates.
About the what?
You was talking about the dates, the difference in the dates.
Oh, so that's just in the United States we write 5, so it would be May.
Yeah.
And then the date, so was it 5? What was her birthday?
Madeleine's.
So anyways, so June 24th, 1987. And so just for, space sake, you would put the month, June, and then the day, 27th, and then the year. And sometimes you can leave the 19 off because they're all going to be that, or the 20 because they're all going to start with the 20. So, but yeah, that's crazy. Just a little difference.
So that can throw things out. So yeah, Madeleine was born in May 2003. She lived in a village called Rothley, which is in Leicester. So we don't have states.
Okay.
Because I noticed you asked me about what state was that in. We don't have states. We have counties.
Okay. So they're called counties.
So Leicester is the city.
Okay.
The county would be Leicestershire or Leicestershire, depending on how you want to pronounce it.
Leicestershire.
Yeah, or Leicestershire, depending on you.
That's got a tongue twister. Leicestershire. Leicestershire. Leicestershire.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it, yeah.
Leicestershire.
So
okay. And it's a city.
Leicester's the city.
Okay.
Leicestershire is the county. So probably the easiest way is to see that as the state, comparable.
Mm-hmm.
That's in effect the states.
So what would the other thing, because we put UK, I put UK on there. Is that right?
Yeah, England. I mean, people don't tend to use England these days for whatever reason. I'm not really sure why.
They just put UK, United Kingdom, or
yeah, but even because we're made up of England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales, so
right,
separate countries within the UK. So
okay.
So Madeline disappeared on the 3rd of May 2007, and I'm, in terms of knowledge, we spoke about this yesterday, didn't we? And comparable cases to the US, I would say for me, and a case I have followed with interest and looked at it a lot, John Benet Ramsey. That, to me, that's if you want an equivalent. That's the one that stands out to me that I've heard about from the US.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot of coverage. No, I don't know the coverage you get of crimes in the UK. But this one to me kind of is on the same scale, really.
Mm-hmm.
The same media coverage,
mm-hmm.
And when it's the same scenario, it's unsolved.
Yeah.
This is again a missing person or missing child. When Madeline went, she'd now be 18, but it started off as it was a kidnapping, or mm-hmm. it was portrayed to be a kidnapping.
Mm-hmm.
So it's never kind of moved from that. They've never really had anything substantial to I guess to be more definitive about what happened. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's lots of different theories, but there's no definitive. I mean, I've got my own theory and opinion, as like a lot of people will have in lots of cases, but that's where it's got a lot of coverage, really, because of the theories and the conspiracies. Mm-hmm. So the location where Madeline went missing was Praia de Luz in Portugal, which in effect is a holiday getaway. Really, they were having a break, and it's mainland Europe. She was taken from a bed, and I don't know if people were aware, but the parents, there were several families most with young children, and for some reason they had this system of going out in the evening and leaving the kids asleep. Mm-hmm. in the room. Now, that's bizarre. That is bizarre to me. That isn't normal. Now, the media in the UK give them a bit of a free pass with this, a free hit, and kind of made out that this was a normal thing, like British rather than European, British parents did on holiday. Well, that's news to me. I've never. To me, that's not what you do on holiday, because these resorts are made for kids, and kids are part of that holiday, so that they're not left in a room alone, which I find highly. I just find that very strange, to be honest.
Well, because I mean, living in the United States, I find that strange too. But I can also understand that other what they were from France. Is that correct? When they were on holiday, so we say vacation.
Yeah,
they were on vacation from France.
In Portugal from England.
Okay, so is that a cultural thing that because that's the way I took it, is that's pretty common. And if you, I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Mel. It's not common because that culture is, if you want, like the Spanish culture. So it's very family orientated. So the evening time would be everyone together. So if it's culturally, it's the opposite. And if it's to say, well, that's what the Brits do, that isn't what Brits do at all.
Okay.
Especially at that age, and there was two other children, younger than Madeline's brother and sister, so two other children.
I guess the way I see that is, depending on, because there isn't much to know, but you have a group of families that are going on vacation together. Obviously, they're there with their children. They're family oriented. They're not doing anything wrong. And all the kids go to bed at a certain night. You're in this resort. You feel safe, even though sometimes we find out later that's hindsight's always 20/20. And with Madeline, they were checking on them, whether we agree with their style of parenting or not. Like, there's nothing nefarious about having a dinner on a veranda like that, when you're doing that. Yeah. Is it like the best thing, the smartest thing to do? No, that would have been to hire a nanny that could watch all of the children. But hindsight's always 20/20, and when you're somewhere and you feel safe there, it's unfortunate. And I think, does it even really matter? Is it a way to just for people to attack the McCanns and all of the other families that left their children that night? I don't know.
What I'm saying is, it was made out that it was a normal. That was like a normal. I just don't see it as the norm. I see that out of the norm. I see that out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
So, I was looking. I have looked at this stuff before, and it is, as with lots of cases, a lot of information out there. Now, I did read up. So the Portuguese investigated the PGAs, and then you've got these PGA files. So the Policia Judiciaria, if I've got the pronunciation right, if not, I've not. It said they worked on the case from the 4th of May 2007 till the 21st of July 2008. So I'm them thinking that's when the British became involved, or kind of took it over in some respects. they set up Operation Grange and put a lot of resources into trying to get to solve it in effect.
Mm-hmm.
There is some interesting videos on YouTube, I must admit, and they are fascinating. Now, there's a guy called Peter Hyatt who does statement analysis.
Mm-hmm.
He covers statements from the parents very in depth, and I really get a lot out of that analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Probably more than research. I find that fascinating in terms of what they come up with. It's not a body language thing. It's to do with the statements that are being made, really. So it's quite complex, but it's quite interesting to see if you want a professional's take on a statement that's been made. And the PGA files, I think there's about 2,000 pages in that document. So that is a couple of places where you can find out more information.
Mm-hmm.
That is Madeleine McCann.
Okay. All right. Was there been any updates in the recent times? I haven't looked at her case in quite a bit. Is there any kind of updates, any kind of progress, or?
Yeah, there's recently, in the last, when I say recent, I think the last 12 months, shall we say, as recent as that can be,
Mm-hmm.
they've had they've got a suspect, a German suspect. Now, I don't really understand how this guy's come on the radar.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've seen, he was in Praia de Luz at the time, or around the time of Madeleine's disappearance. But this is the mainstream media's person of interest.
Mm-hmm.
No,
it's gotten a lot of national coverage. I did see, I think it was on Observe, which, you guys, if you have not subscribed to Observe, don't waste any time. Well, waste a little bit of time so you stay here with us, but go subscribe to Observe. I think he did a breakdown, or it might have been Crime. Help me out with his name. She'll put it in the chat, or Lake, or Ivy may know. Ban may know. One of those. Somebody help me out with the Todd Ladd. No, that's a preacher. I think it's Todd, though. I don't know. They'll tell me. But he does that breakdown analysis as well, and I really respect him and I really love his work. So yeah, I think he did one on Madeleine McCann's parents, and so it was pretty interesting.
What's his name, Mel?
It's called Observe.
Yeah, I've not seen
the channel.
Make a note of that. I'm not seeing that one. Yeah, so this POI, Christian B. They put his name out, Christian Bruckner, and then they retracted it and referred to him as Christian B. But he's being pushed by the mainstream, and I'm not a big fan, a big believer in some of the stuff that mainstream put out there. So
yeah,
when you say fact checking, there's big question marks over that guy.
Yeah, the fact checking is difficult with media, and sometimes it can be. Recently, I was reading an article on Crime Online that did have to do with Delphi, and the word choices that we use can really throw people off onto your meaning. And I think that we have that translation problem too between us a lot of times. And so in writing, a word that may have just been a mistake can change an entire paragraph's meaning. And, we're awful hard on journalists and things. There are those ones that are just outright snakes and they don't care about the truth. But I think sometimes you think that happens with translation from your guys' media source to us listening to it and hearing it. Is it lost in translation because of the lingo?
Well, the PJ files are online, so you can get the PJ files. Well, the PJ files are in Portuguese.
Okay, well, I don't read Portuguese.
No, they've been but they've been translated to English.
See, that always scares me.
Yeah.
I always like to have it translated myself because I just don't trust. I mean, you can tell me whatever the hell you wanted. Like if I were to get a document, for I think one of them was in I'm not going to remember. I'll remember the continent. It was Asia. And I was like, I think I'm going to have that translated myself just because they could tell me whatever they wanted. And I wouldn't know the difference, I wouldn't know. But I was talking more just in general because Madeline McCann has gotten a lot of media coverage abroad, and then we watch it here in the States because it is a nationally known, case. And so I just wondered if that kind of causes issues as far as the lost in translation goes from American media from UK media.
Yeah, I'm not sure about lost in translation. I think more along the lines of what's spun, how they spin it, how they spin information.
Yeah. The spin.
The lead detective, lead investigator, he's a guy. He was a Portuguese guy called Detective Amaral, who the McCanns took to court and sued. Now, I think he was a good investigator. I think he wanted to find the truth.
Yeah.
And there was lots of obstacles put in his way. And by that, I mean by the British.
Mm-hmm.
I don't quite understand what jurisdiction the British had out there. Yeah, it was a British national.
I think I know who you're talking about. He's the one that had said he read a poem, and it was a little bit wrong from when I looked the poem up, but man, it just really, it was disturbing and so true and deep. And I'll try to, this off the top of my head. I spent an hour with I walked along with darkness. We chatted all the way. And then it goes on to talk about, I'll find it. I'll get back to you. So are you, you have any more to tell us? Is there any kind of leads, what about a phone number for who people can call or tips or hopefully confess?
There is. Madeline.com, which basically that's got the contact details on.
Mm-hmm.
Operation Grange was the name they give to the investigation. I'm just trying to bring it up now.
Okay, I'll read this while you find that. I walked a mile with pleasure. She chatted all the way, but left me none the wiser for all that she had to say. I walked a mile with sorrow, and ne'er a word she said, but oh, the things I learned from her when sorrow walked with me. And the detective on a documentary that I had, documentary. I'm getting better at that. documentary that I had seen about Madeline McCann, and the detective had said that quote. And how true is that? You know, just that there's no words, but you learn so much when you have to walk in sorrow. I don't know. I just thought it was very, very telling into his personality and his connection and his deep care.
Is that the lead investigator from the McCann case?
Yeah, I'm fine. Why?
No, is that
that was I was like, yeah, my back. But yeah, I'm fine. I just I'm cheap, and I went and got a chair from IKEA, and it really sucks. And it's like you can see I'm like it's like bends me up, and I mean I can push it back, but it doesn't like it's just uncomfortable. I need to not be cheap and go get me a comfortable chair. So yeah, that's all.
I need to get a gaming chair.
I need like a lounge chair. Could I do this from a lounge chair? That's more my style.
What you just read then, was that from the lead detective?
Yeah, he had quoted it it was just in one of the documentary that I was watching on IG about Madeline McCann, and he had said that, and I just was like, I thought it was beautiful.
I think he's a good guy. I think he's an honourable investigator, an honourable man, and I think the British media portrayed him as something that he isn't.
Yeah, that's pretty sad how often that happens. And I can't imagine being on their side of it. You know, most of these investigators, and they don't make a lot of money. You know, it's not like they're rolling in the dough. And yeah, are there bad ones? Are there bad ones that don't care about victims? Of course. I mean, in anything in life, you know, like good people are everywhere and bad people are everywhere. But man, these detectives, like, just imagine seeing what they see every day in and out, and knowing the limitations that the judicial system puts on them to prove. Because a lot of times it's not about the truth, it's about what you can prove. What can be proved in a court of law. And that's why I was talking with some friends the other night, and I'm like, I don't think I could do it. I would end up being a Gerard Butler in Law Abiding Citizen, or Samuel L. Jackson in A Time to Kill. Or, you know, like, I don't think that my favorite would be Equalizer. I would have a hard time of knowing, you know, who killed, you know what happened, and you know who the suspect is, you know the killer, and there's not a damn thing that you can do about it. That burden that they carry, and then to pile on top of it all the just, they're terrible. They did a terrible job. They really screwed this up from the beginning. It's all their fault. They suck at their job. Blah, 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 blah. You know, it's like, man, put yourself in their shoes for just a second. Think about what they have to see day in, day out. Think about the things that are out of their control, like CSI crime scene units are not in a detective's investigator's control of what they do and they don't do. A prosecutor is not in their control of what they do and they don't do. It's the same thing. If you go to a restaurant and you yell at your waitress because your freaking steak wasn't cooked medium and it was medium instead of rare, it's not her fault. She didn't cook your damn steak. You know, it's like the same thing in law enforcement and the judicial system. It's like, it's not their fault. Like, they can't try the case. It's not their fault. They can't collect the case. That's not their job. You know, we all have that. And it's like keeping that in mind. So we have empathy is like huge. And I've just seen a lot of hate in Madeline's case directed towards law enforcement, directed towards her family, the choices that her family and friends made that day.
Just seen a comment from Ivy there. It's a really good bit of information that Ivy's put. Let me just find it. Yeah, so Ivy's put there about how much has been spent. Wow, £11.75 million.
Wow, I'm not seeing it. Is this it?
No,
the high profile had 12 million spent on it over the past 13 years. Other cases don't get anywhere near this kind of funding.
And this is why there is, this is kind of answering what you just said. People don't understand the resources that's been put into this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true. Well, okay. We've probably better get on to, if you're all finished with Madeline, did you find a phone number?
There is a phone number there. It isn't law enforcement, as you guys say.
What do you say?
Police.
Police?
Yes, police. We don't use law enforcement, but I tend to use that now because it's just the best. I think it's more appropriate, really. There's an investigation line. The best place to look is I've included the links with you. Findmadeline.com.
Okay, cool.
In terms of
Madeline.com. Findmadeline.com. Also, I think like law enforcement is kind of an off-putting word. I think it should be more like peacekeeping officers, because that's really like protect and serve and keep the peace. But we call them law enforcers now, and I think that's one of those things that's got twisted over the years of like the job title. But when I think of police, I think of like a slang would be like beat cop. So, I usually try to say like investigator if I'm talking about, or detective or whatever. Do you guys have words like that? Like, what do you call a detective?
Well, yeah, Amaral, Detective Amaral was described as the lead investigator.
So it was detective.
Yeah, but like we're saying about terminology, it can be interchanged. Detective, lead investigator, lead detective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's similar. It's similar in that respect.
All right. Well,
I'm just going to put my avatar on if that's all right.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get on to my number one, because we're procrastinating. We're talking, and I wanted to try to keep it shorter than I normally do. So I'm going to go ahead and start on Peggy Irene Chappell. Oh, I'll pull up a picture of her really quick. Look at that beautiful little girl. Oh, so that is Peggy Chappell, January 24th, 1987, Birmingham, Alabama. Okay. Peggy Chappell, born on January 24th, 1987, resided in Birmingham, Alabama, in the Norwood Apartments. She was a beautiful, blue-eyed 6-year-old who was loved by her classmates and teachers. On Thanksgiving Day, November 24th, 1993, little Peggy is seen with a man, witnesses say, kissed her on the cheek before loading her into his van, or Chevy Blazer. Both have been mentioned. The next day, her body was found inside of an abandoned building atop a pile of trash She had been bound with rope, wrapped in a beach towel, and placed in a green trash bag with her clothing folded neatly inside the bag. Little Peggy suffered massive blunt force trauma to the head. Her throat was cut. Her arms, legs, back, buttocks, and thigh were badly bruised. According to an interview with the Associated Press, quote, FBI agent Bill Fleming said Peggy was hit on the head with an iron pipe. The blow was so forceful it was enough to kill her. But investigators believe she lived for up to an hour before someone slit her throat, end quote. And as this case isn't heinous enough, it sadly gets much worse. Peggy's mother, Katie Chappell, told investigators this, quote, "It didn't benefit her," end quote, "to tell them the name of the man or the license plate tag number of the van with whom her daughter was last seen and she believes is her daughter's killer." She said of the man, quote, "He always brought her back before," end quote. In 1994, Katie was charged with hindering prosecution, and she could have faced up to 10 years in prison. And in 1999, she was sentenced to 3 years in prison and 5 years probation after she refused to meet the terms of her plea, which were the 5 years probation after she refused to meet the terms of her plea, which was cooperating with the investigation of her daughter's murder. Judge James Garrett said this, quote, "You have no constitutional right to remain silent," end quote. It is reported that she stood on top of the casket, crying loudly, and gained sympathy at the vigil right after her daughter's murder with her exaggerated tears. And in hindsight, this weird behavior, coupled with her refusal to speak, still to this day paints a picture of guilt, in my opinion. She must have thought 10 years was less than what she would get if she told the truth. Maybe she didn't realize, maybe she didn't physically murder her daughter. And it is speculated that she was sex trafficking poor little Peggy. Either way, she's guilty in my book. Some do feel Katie is in fear of the killer and what he could do to her or her remaining children. And that's valid. I just not me. I don't see that. I don't know. It is valid, and I do know that it takes a ton of courage to speak up, especially in more rural, I can't say that word, communities, to where I've noticed this with Shannon Polk's case. They don't trust law enforcement to keep them safe. They don't trust them to be peacekeepers, and that's very sad. And I know that a lot of these smaller police departments, they don't get enough funding, and they need it because there is these things that these murderers are never not murderers. They're a murderer the rest of their life. And I would prefer if they were behind bars, murderers behind bars, instead of out to do this again. And what a sad, short life Peggy had to endure. It's just heartbreaking. Cato Chapel, if you hear this, please tell what you know. It's time for Peggy to rest in peace. Hell, you can email me, coldtruthpodcast@gmail.com, because I do have a lot of questions. And the reason that I have questions is because of my heart case, Shannon Nicole Palk. The similarities are striking. And I have to wonder, it is unsolved. It's Birmingham. We have Birmingham, Prattville in Alabama. They're not too far away. It's just the details of the way that she was found that really make you wonder if it could be the same person. If we think the comment that she always brought her back. Like, that comment to me does kind of imply that, and it wasn't someone in their family. And so it makes you wonder. But yes, Allie, those clothes neatly folded with Peggy. Like, that's the thing with Shannon. So Shannon, she was abducted in 2001. So we got 1993, 2001. She was abducted in the middle of the day in her neighborhood. There is reports of them seeing a Jeep, and, so we have some similarities there, which is like the circumstance of the crime. And then her body was taken to a dump site, and she was put in a trash bag. Her clothing was in a pile. It doesn't say it was folded. It just said it was in a pile and it wasn't on her body. She had been tied with rope, and in her murder data, which I don't have access to VICAP as much as I would love to. I would so love to. All we have is murder data. And in murder data, for one, it lists Shannon's case as solved, which I did get to talk to Thomas Hargrove, who, it was like talking to, I'm sure for other people that really get into like, I don't know, like actors and actresses, it would be like, oh, I got to talk to Lady Gaga today. Like for them, like, I don't care. That wouldn't get me all googly at all. But like Thomas Hargrove, he's a hero and he's brilliant. And I love the work that he does because it's so important. A lot of people out there, VICAP, I get why the public shouldn't have access to that. And I'm glad that we have murder data. I sure do wish they could add the names because it would make it a lot easier to use. I'm actually just going to pull up murder data real quick, because if you don't know about it, you need to. Okay. So it's called Murder Accountability Project. It is run by a man named Thomas Hargrove, who is just literally, in my book, a hero, Nobel Prize winner. But he has created this website that is reminiscent of VICAP, but he gets all of his information from the FBI under the Freedom of Information Act. Now, there are details that are left out that are in VICAP, but when you get on here on murder data, hold on, I could pull up the YouTube so that I can. Hold on, oh geez, pull up the YouTube so that I can see it too. I don't like that. Is it getting any interference with my phone? Anybody? You can hear me talking and all that. The clothes were in a pile, Ivy. I just saw that comment. It just says the clothes were in a pile, to where it was making a distinction between, to me, it was making a big distinction that the clothes were not on her. They were in the bag, the trash bag, but they were not on her. They were in a pile. I don't know if they were folded. I don't know that they would have been found folded. They could have been folded in the beginning, But you got to remember, Shannon was left to the elements for 6 weeks in Alabama, which is harsh. Very harsh weather, very hot summer. She went missing in October or in August, and her body was found in October. But I found Shannon here. Oh man, I knew I wasn't going to get that lucky that it would just stay on what I was working on. So it takes forever. So basically what you can do, I'll just explain this because I think you guys would really like it. And if you don't know about it, if you do know about it, and just pause me and go do something else for a minute. But I think it's really cool. And it gives us ability to find clusters, to find crimes that we could link. And then you can always use NamUs to get those names. NamUs is brilliant. I wish they would make it so you don't have to sign in. That's so annoying. And you have to change your password like way too much, or it'll just like boot you out of the system. And so I'm constantly always having to request a password. So I wish that they wouldn't do that. And the Charlie Project, of course. So you can say, if you don't want to pick that, you can take that out and just do Akron, Ohio. You can pick a metro area, you can pick a state, you can pick the victim's sex, a weapon that was used. But under Shannon's, it uses the beating. With any, see, it's right here. Personal weapons includes beating. And on here, this is really the only one that wraps up like blunt force trauma. And so let me see if I can find, but I found Peggy's as well, and hers does say unsolved. But there were when you put them up and you see them side by side, it was kind of like, wow, the similarities are pretty crazy. And it just makes me wonder. And I have a friend, Deborah. She's probably not in here yet. She had church, but she also, were 3 other so Peggy was one of 3 in the very same, like very close vicinity that were killed in the same very close amount of time. And so that with Shannon, and then there are unsolved in Alabama, quite a few. Heaven Lachey Ross in Northport, and Tamika was one. I do not remember the last name. We have Teresa Dean, that was in Georgia, and then in Tennessee, there's been 3 that have been looked at in association with Shannon's case. And so I decided to shine a light on poor Peggy Chappell and her family, and that's a big difference, and why I respect what the Patty's and Kelsey and Anna and the other families, and oh my gosh, Charlie and Jeanette and Tammy and all the moms and dads that really just day in and day out, they're never going to give up. And because then you see a case like Peggy's, where her mother intentionally doesn't want it to get any coverage, doesn't want it to be solved. And I want to plead to Peggy's brothers and sisters. Her dad did pass away. Please, if you know anything about what happened to your little sister, please come forward. It's clear that your mom is not going to. You have to have questions. It has to have been bothering you of why your mom would not want anyone to get to the truth. And if you hear this, I doubt you will, contact me. coldtruthpodcast@gmail.com. And that's all I have.
Nice one, Mel.
Yeah.
I do like how you I do like the way you kind of try to communicate with potential witnesses or people with information. I think that's definitely a skill you've got, and I would think with the type of person you are, people would make contact. I do.
Yeah.
You know, if they didn't want to say go to enforcement, because not everyone wants to do that.
Yeah, and you're only as good as your word. And so, when I give my word, I have, and the people that have turned in tips, I don't want to be the one that gets a tip. Like, that's not my job. I never intended it to be, like, on the pages that I run. But by God, I'm going to take them, and if that person is scared, I'm going to turn it in for them. And I've done a lot of that, and I have kept them anonymous, and I've already done it. If you need a testimony to that, I have those. They're going to be anonymous, which you could think I wrote it for myself. Hopefully people know me better than that. And if they don't know me better than that,
well,
what I have to say to that.
Well, exactly.
I don't give a shit. Your character and your word are literally all you have, and it doesn't matter, does it? To lie about yourself and like make yourself more than you are, because your lies will always eventually catch up with you.
It doesn't matter, does it? Because you know the reasons why you're doing it.
Yeah,
and that's all that matters. It's not something. K is. It looks like you've got a new fan in K.
Oh,
K is.
She's from the UK, or he?
No, she's from the US.
Oh.
She's a sleuther following
I'm working
Suzanne.
on I have your thumbnail almost done, Kaleidoscope of Crime.
She's followed the Suzanne case as well. So
okay, well, thank you for joining us.
I've been in contact with her for quite a while now.
And you are doing great.
Cool. So she's a yes. Yeah, you've got to make sure you highlight the Christy. So the second case, if you're ready for me to carry on with that.
I am.
Are you going to bring the?
Yep.
Thumbnail.
Yep.
Yes, Claudia. This is another mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Very lots of intrigue and just a case. You think a missing person case. They seem to me what always strikes me with these cases is they seem this. You think from an outside perspective, you think, oh, it's got to be quite straightforward, this. And once you start looking into some of these circumstances or these people, as much as we all do, they can be quite complex and quite complex individuals or complex circumstances, and that's not a criticism.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the overall life they lead is quite complex. Now, I think with Claudia, she had quite a complex kind of lifestyle, which we may touch on. It's not something that we need to touch on specifically, but if people are more interested, it's an unusual part of a case. That there's question marks about, so it's not an area of a case that seems to have brought up any answers. Now that's probably to do with anonymity again. People don't want to admit to what they were doing, whether it was people having extramarital affairs, that kind of thing, and people just not wanting to come forward because of it.
Mm-hmm.
So Claudia Lawrence, and it surprised me how much time's passed. I'm not screen sharing here, but I'm always a bit unsure how to do that in case I always think I'm going to make a mess of it. So I don't know.
Do you have a button on the bottom that says share?
Yeah, I don't know if it's okay. I'm happy to just read through it. And
you can send it to my email. If you send it real quick, I can do it in a
second.
Yeah,
no, it's fine. I just sometimes I know a visual can be helpful rather than somebody just reading a script if you want.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll do that because it's a different format for me. So
yeah, Ivy. Oh my gosh, yes, girl. I always see her in a chat, and Ivy she's one of those people that is so knowledgeable in victims' rights and equality and fairness, and and standing up for those victims that are there's not a perfect victim. They just don't exist, and we seem to have a problem with that as a society, and it's so bizarre.
Who is that, Mel?
Ivy Rose.
Somebody in the chat you were saying no commented, or Ivy's commented.
Yeah, so I put it up on the screen, but she's a friend that I talked to, and since she was helping me with some things last night, and so trying to find cases and with information, and she had sent me an article that I'll get to here in a second if we have time.
Okay. So Claudia was reported missing by her dad, Peter Lawrence, on Friday, 20th of March, Friday the 20th of March, 2009. Friends had become concerned that they'd not heard from her since Wednesday the 18th. So at the time of her disappearance, she was 35, and she was a chef at the University of York's, I think that's how you pronounce it, Goodrick College. Claudia was due to walk to work, which was approximately 3 miles on the Thursday the 19th, but she never turned up. Her mobile phone, a rucksack, and her chef whites have never been found. Claudia was the last sighting of Claudia was on the Wednesday, 3:05 in the afternoon. She was captured on CCTV as she left the college and walked home. Later that evening, she spoke to both of her parents, and they said she was in good spirits. And then, come the Friday, she was reported missing. Now here, Claudia's disappearance remained unexplained, but is stated by the police, because this information is from the North Yorkshire Police website, so it's being treated as murder. So because they don't always kind of commit to a statement like that, do they? You know, sometimes they'll say it's being treated as a missing person, but they clearly state this is they've got reasons to believe it's a murder case. So on the 21st, on the 18th of March of this year, it's going to be 12 years since she disappeared. Now, there has been several people arrested, but the people arrested, they've all been released on bail, and no further charges have been brought. So there was a page on that I was looking for. Just trying to find that information that we just kind of briefly touched on. I can't find it now. So in terms of the people arrested,
mm-hmm.
When the charges was dropped, so we have the Crown Prosecution Service. I'm not sure what you define that as. Would that be the DA one? The DAs, would that be the equivalent of the District Attorney's Office?
So you said crime prosecution.
CPS, Crown Prosecution Service.
Okay. I would think so. I don't know, because CPS here is child protection services. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So the CPS here, they decide if there's enough evidence to, as you've said, if there's enough evidence to bring a trial or bring the prosecution about.
So that doesn't have anything to do with like a grand jury. It's just like the prosecutor. It's what is a lawyer, a DA, or is that the same terminologies? A judge? Are they all called different things in your country?
No, same. Judges, lawyers, solicitors.
That's one I've heard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Briefs.
So, because here in the United States, it would be sometimes a prosecutor, the DA, the district attorney, he will impanel a grand jury to present his evidence to a grand jury to see if there is enough, that they think there's enough there, because a grand jury is kind of like a mock trial in a way, if you think about it like that. That's not exactly right, but I'm just trying to give you a reference here. And so they present that information to the grand jury, and then they decide, it's like, sorry, I don't think you could get the votes that you need to get a conviction.
Yeah, it's the same.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
is she and you said she was presumed murdered?
Yeah, presumed. Yeah, presumed. Yeah, no, it's definitive that presumed murdered.
Mm-hmm.
So they did a case review, because so much time had passed,
Mm-hmm.
and so he basically gets a new set of eyes looking at the case.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, this is where the curate. This is where the if you want, I don't know the right word here, but it's a bit strange, or a bit of a bit. There's more going on than what you kind of think. Maybe this is why it's never come to a trial as such. So
Well, what's going on?
So he's saying, having thoroughly examined the case, he said he was now sure. So this is the lead detective, as we spoke about. There was a number of people who know what happened to Claudia, but who have refused, for whatever reason, to come forward.
So sad.
So there are people, like we said, who know, but for whatever reason, they don't want to come forward. He said, I'm sure that some people who know, or who have very strong suspicions about what happened to Claudia. And for whatever reason, they have either refused to come forward or have been economic with the truth. I am left with the inescapable conclusion that this case could still be solved if only people were honest with us. The fact they are not is agonising for Claudia's family, and they should be ashamed of themselves. So this is pretty strong language for our. This
I
isn't
like it.
this isn't a common quote. These aren't quotes you kind of associate really with cases at all. So a man was filmed on CCTV very close to Claudia's house on the morning after she vanished. They've managed to unearth additional CCTV footage, but this guy's never been traced. So there's still a little bit more yet.
Okay, so she was seen on the CCTV, and then she's just gone.
She never made it to work.
She never made it to work. Okay,
Oh,
where did she work?
The York University. She was a chef.
The what?
York. Like a Yorkie bar. But,
a Yorkie bear.
No, a Yorkie bar.
A bar. Okay. Gotcha. See? This is why, I think it's a cool idea to do the global Unsolved, because we can, try to light on some of those things that get lost in translation of like, oh, because me, I'm just going to bluntly ask you, like, what did you say? What is that? So York Bar. That is the name of the bar. York Bar.
Yeah, so and I'm just trying to think if York's a city. So York.
Okay. It's not a county.
Pardon?
It's not a county.
No, York's the city.
Okay. In like what? I know you don't use state, but like York. York what?
Yeah, Yorkshire.
And that's just it. Like if I got Google Maps out, I could find it on just York. Like it wouldn't be like a York.
No, the city. So he talks about Birmingham being in Alabama,
right?
So York.
Where is York? Where is it in? Where's Yorkshire?
York is in Yorkshire.
So York, well, that's a tongue twister. Yorkshire.
It's a bit like it's think of it like New York City.
Okay. And then is Yorkshire in England? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. See?
But New York, New York City, yeah.
Okay.
But the state's New York, isn't it?
So Kaleidoscope is saying Yorkshire County. So
Yeah, that's
would it
correct.
be like York
Kaleidoscope's
is
on
the
it.
Providence in the county in the country? Like what? How do
It's
you?
the city. It's like Birmingham. So Birmingham is a city in Alabama, isn't it?
Yeah. So
York's
York,
a city. York's a
York
city.
is a city in Yorkshire.
Correct.
Got it. See?
So my county is Lancashire.
Yeah. We need like a geography lesson.
It's pretty. To be fair, I would say it's
Because I
probably a
really
lot.
don't. I mean, like, I don't know like all the of the terms and the
It's a
lingo.
lot easier. It's a lot easier than the US in the fact that it's a lot smaller. It's a lot smaller here.
You have baffled the Americans. My friend, I was talking to her about this, and she's just blunt as I am. She's a hoot. I would love to get her on here with me sometime because y'all love her and my cousin. But she was like, we don't know all that stuff. Like they think that we do or that we care about it, but we really don't. Like we don't know about other like geography isn't big things for Americans. It's just like, yeah, we're just literally too self-absorbed for that. So like she always finds it interesting because of her job of what she does, meeting people from other countries, and they know right where Indiana is. And you can say like Indianapolis, Indiana, and they're like, I know where that is. She's like, it don't go both ways.
Well, I was amazed. I was amazed. Correspondence with Americans about they didn't really. I'm generalizing. The time zones they were completely unaware of the various time zones in the US. Now that's something I've had to learn myself because I didn't know them.
There's a lot. There's way too many, in my opinion. I know we can't. I know it's impossible because it's just not possible. But like, man, I wish we could cut out some because there's just like, so EST, CST, PST. And then when you have daylight savings, which doesn't seem to really be great. And then GMT is for your side of the pond, right?
Yeah, Greenwich Mean Time. I'm just screen sharing there now. Hopefully you can see that.
Good job.
So this is a map of the British Isles.
Okay.
So here you've got Wales.
Mm-hmm.
Up here above there is Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Out into the sea is Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
So then you've got the counties.
Okay.
So
such cool names, right, guys? We all seem to have like just like weird.
So York, so that area, the area of where Claudia is,
Okay,
is the county of Yorkshire. I'm showing you the counties here. I'm not showing you the towns and the cities.
Mm-hmm.
But so this is this is northern England.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in here in Lancashire. Okay. Now there's a lot of them with shires.
Mm-hmm.
They're not all shires, but there's quite a few with shires. To be honest, I don't know them all. I don't know the areas because I just don't know them. I do try to. I am interested in places, countries, dialects, languages.
Yeah.
But getting down here where Norfolk and Suffolk are, and there's a lot. There's a lot of different counties close together, and once we start getting down here, I'm kind of lost. But this case basically is focusing up here in Yorkshire. That's where it's covering.
Okay.
So I know I'm still screen sharing.
Yeah, that's fine. You can read it from there. That helps people sometimes. I know it helps me. I just printed mine off, but
so there we have the family update was that unfortunately Claudia's dad passed away. He's died in the last couple of weeks
without any answers.
So that's pretty sad. You've got the various different numbers there.
Mm-hmm.
Different websites.
Okay, so you guys have like the equivalent of what we have in NamUs and missingpeople.org. And then you have Crime Stoppers. And I see.
I'm just going to click on that because I don't think that is the equivalent of NamUs.
Find Claudia, is that like a website for specifically for her put by the families? Okay.
Yes, I would think so. That'll be like the Find Madeleine McCann.
I have been, because of Nakota Kelly, I've been trying to find back the history from Africa in Nigeria, and I find it. I wish there was like a database that anyone could go to so that you can find like all of this kind of information of like, where do I search? How do I go about searching for, court documents, or is that even a thing? Like, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out how to navigate a country that I'm totally unfamiliar with. I've never even visited, and how their criminal justice system works, plus trying to find out any information, and it's just been so hard.
I'm not entirely sure of our equivalence of the NamUs. I don't actually think we have an equivalent
of NamUs. Okay.
NamUs. This is a charity. Missing People's a charity. It's not an equivalent of NamUs.
So they don't have flyers or like anything. They just.
We do. We do.
Help us find. Is that where you can find the highlighted cases, or?
Let's have a look. Missing appeals.
Okay. Missing appeals. See, that's a little bit different language.
What would you say then for that?
I don't know. I just know it's not appeals. I can't remember. I think it's like information or flyer.
So an appeal.
Flyer.
So an appeal is if you want, is an appeal for help.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know what appeal means.
No, but I'm just saying that's the way it's being used.
Yeah.
So
it's so sad to see. Whenever I do a missing case, every time I always end up doing this is like with Mikelle. Mikelle had very distinctive teeth. They were very far apart still.
Oh, okay.
And then you can get on NamUs and you can see like the clothing descriptions of like what she was last seen on. And I can never help myself because NamUs has unidentified. And so I am constantly, and you can enter in all of that data and see if you, as just a layman, can come up with any matches or close to matches. I have sent the detective, I think his name is Detective Beard in Boone County. There is a Jane Doe that I'm very passionate about, and I probably will be covering her on the podcast.
See, that's a great name, Boone County. I mean, that's just like, whoa.
Really?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the name's just.
Yeah, it's Lebanon, not Lebanon, but Lebanon, Indiana. And so I'm constantly looking for little characteristics that were unique to the Jane Doe. So I'm reversing it. And they did do a bio, I don't think it's called biometric. It might have been a hair analysis and of where she was known to be. Someone help me out in the chat if you know. I want to say bio, I don't know. I don't remember, but and so it comes back with information and I try to like find her. I send him all kinds, probably gets sick of me. But I find it so sad when you have an unidentified remains and they're just there, just John Does and Jane Does. Like, how sad is that? Everybody deserves to have dignity and burial and a name, their born name. So hopefully you have an equivalent over there so that people could be searching for, if you come across a case, maybe it would be Claudia of an unidentified body that they just don't know is there yet.
Mm.
Yeah, there are some families that don't look because they don't know about it. I wish there could be some reform in victim advocacy inside of the justice system as a whole, but particularly with the DA's office and the prosecutors that take these cases. The amount of you are a victim's advocate and you can't tell a victim, you were like, well, I don't know, I'm going to have to look that up, or, oh, I don't know. That shouldn't be an answer to, hey, when is the person that raped me going to be getting out of prison? And I know that, like, I was alerted to Christopher Mathis getting out before Cheryl, and it was simply because I knew where to go to fill out the thing in order to get notified. And, like, those kinds of things are what a lot of people you don't, it's just ignorance, and that's not a bad word. I hate it when people villainize that word because it's just, you don't know what you don't know. You can't know something if you've never learned it. And so, like, I wish that there was help for them more than what they get, and of just knowing where to look a lot of times. And that's why I'm wanting to I'm bugging you about these databases and stuff because it's important. You got to have somewhere that you can research.
Just noticed Ivy Rose has made a comment there about what did she put? Yeah, that'll be true. I would have thought.
Really?
Yeah, it's not a big. It's not. That's what I'm saying. It's a small country, England.
Wow.
Well, the UK.
So why is there just like so many names and like where do they all fit? Like UK, then you've got England, then you've got like Europe and like I don't know, like North America, South America.
Yeah, that's it's a continent. Yeah, I don't refer to.
So the continent is Europe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the only time. That's the only other time that you'll hear me saying Europe.
Yeah. Do you not like that word?
Well, no, it's like saying you're Canadian.
You're European.
It's like saying you're from Canada. It's not accurate, is it?
Well, no.
You're from.
Yeah, I see your point.
That's
Oh, just like so general. It's like, damn, you don't really care about knowing anything about me. You're just like, you're from Europe.
Yeah. It doesn't really. It's like saying that's like narrowing it down to male and female kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, thanks
You're
for
a male from Europe.
Yeah, thanks for the insight.
Yeah.
I could have kind of come up with that information myself without even asking.
Right.
No, it's true.
Well,
It's true what you're saying about information. There is lots of information out there, but it's finding it.
yeah.
That's
And
that.
sometimes I'm dogged about it. I won't give up. I mean, eventually I'll find it or it just doesn't exist. But I'm also that nerd that loved to go to the library and had lists of questions. And so not everybody's like me. And like if there was something that we could make it more easily accessible, I think it would be a great thing. And Google, I mean, you have Google. We always have trouble with like you being able to see cases here or like pull up my case or different articles. Would I have that same
Yeah.
problem if I were looking into anything in your
No, I think that's more
country?
on. I think that's more on the media side. So, for example, Fox 21 is one I know of. Fox 21 News. I can't access that here. So if you sent me a link for an article from Fox 21 News, I can't access that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm not entirely sure why.
I need to apologize for a second. I'm so sorry, Annie. That's what I'm talking about. Like, can you even imagine? I don't want to highlight it because I don't, I mean, I don't, because they're visible right at the top, but I'm so sorry. That that should never happen. You should never find out from TV that your perpetrator is not still in jail where you thought he was. That's absolutely horrendous. And that's exactly what I'm talking about with victims advocates.
So here's an off-topic question, Mel. What's in a name? Wombat Dundee.
No.
Is that is Wombat Dundee in America?
Where do you think he's from?
Well, I would have thought he or she is an Aussie,
Yep,
but
he is.
I've never been sure because I thought I'd asked and thought they'd said they were in the States.
He's in Australia.
Yeah, that's a great name. That I have been to Australia. I have been down under, so
Wow.
I do know Australia, some of Australia, and I do know New Zealand because my mum's she's a New Zealander or a Kiwi as they call them.
A Kiwi. Why?
Yes.
Oh, well, Ivy, that's good to know. Don't know what you're talking about, but well, I will find out what a UVPN is for sure. So how, I mean, are sentencing and your prisons pretty similar to the United States? Like as far as prisons, jails, is that what they're called? What are they like? Are they posh? Are they holes in the ground? How do they compare to the United
Yeah,
States?
I don't know. But basically, I can't answer. No, I think it just probably depends on state to state, county to county. Some are better than others. I don't think they're particularly as a regime. I don't think there's strict regime here. Sentencing for me tends to be on the soft side, on the lenient side. You know, there's no death penalties.
None whatsoever.
No.
Life without parole.
Yes.
And does
Life.
it mean that? Does it mean life and you are never going to get out? Does it mean that?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
The problem area is we have a definition of a life sentence. Now, that doesn't mean
an actual life sentence.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, I'm not sure why they use that term or we use that phrase, but it is a bit misleading. But them are areas that I'm learning about, and I'm learning about them areas from following the American crime more than what people have asked and said. Oh, kind of. I think curious as to why would you follow US cases?
Yeah, I do. I see it a lot. I always
think it's just
wondered.
because I don't think they have the same access here to the justice system in terms of coverage.
Well, why? Like, why don't they give? Why don't they cover? I mean, I know that they cover some. I mean, look at Oscar.
I just don't think
there's a ton, but like,
well, at the minute, I know off the top of my head, I could probably name 3 or 4 high-profile cases in the States.
Mm-hmm.
Now, multiply that by the number of states, you're up into the hundreds. Kind of that are getting covered, you know, by like plunders, AV Watchmen, Real Gon, lost his name then for a second. Well, Real Gonzo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're covering a number of cases, and it's impossible to follow them cases, and that's just like a hand selection of the vastness of cases that are going on. So there's far more cases to follow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
When I first asked you to do this, you were like, well, there isn't any homicides or murders in my area. I was like, what? How is that even possible? But then when I got on Google, I mean, it was like, there was like 900 and some homicides in the United Kingdom. But I did notice that as far as in-depth like research or whatever, or the same like obsessiveness as far as like social media and the aspect of true crime, it is not there, unless it does seem to be like a lot of people from across the pond do follow American crime and murder and mystery and more. But it doesn't seem to be a lot that is reversed on that. And
I think that your system is in place more with the access to the courts.
Mm-hmm.
Access here to courts has always been pretty limited.
I mean, that's still a state by state. Indiana is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for it. But Alabama, they're terrible. If you want to pay like an arm, your legs, and like, you know, you can get the information under the Freedom of Information Act, but you have to pay for that information, and they don't have access to like public. And there's a lot of states in America that are like that, where they do not allow just public access to that data unless you pay for it. So to me, it seems like it just really pisses me off because there's profiting off of it, and just doesn't seem like something that you should profit off of.
No,
it's a
we're far from perfect. You know, don't be under any illusions that we've got a better system in place in the US, because we really haven't. You know, there's a lot of injustice here. There's a lot of questionable police work, sentencing, lack of representation for victims. What seems a lot of the time the sentencing's in favour of the perpetrators. You know, the same kind of thing we see in people being released.
Why do they suppress the information? Is it reported in a database as far as crime? Is it categorized? Why, if it's not, why are they pretending that there isn't darkness? Like, I don't understand, you know, it's like, are you just trying to portray, is it an image thing of like, I don't know, like, well, we don't have guns, so we don't have crime. Like, a lot of times I probably is ignorant of me to say, but it just seems like when you suppress information from your people, the public, why are you doing that? Why? The why is where I would have to question. Like,
well, that is happening here. That's there's lots of different factors why that's happening or why that does happen. You know, there's a whole host of social reasons. Some will be similar to what you have in the States. Matt, does your system? He's asking me a question there. Does your system tend to... Well, that's a tricky question, that, because can't answer that. I can't really answer that either definitively. I would say that the emphasis still is on the punishment and the incarceration. That isn't a word we tend to describe it here. Incarcerate. It is an interesting word. We tend to say sentencing. You know, people have been sentenced or sent down. You know, just for people who are watching. That, again, variation in language. Rehab's always tagged on the end, and it's a contentious issue, isn't it? Rehab, because as was covered earlier on, where is this line for rehab? One thing that seems to have gotten lost, I find, with following these crimes, is there was the saying, if you can't do the time,
don't do the crime.
And that's so that's a world known saying. Now, what I do see is the number of these people who have committed crimes and the bang to rights on committing crimes and murders or whatever, they're not prepared to do the time, even when found guilty. And now, you know, high profile cases that I've seen. Chris Watts, he's applying for this 35C, which I'm not entirely sure what that is or what it means. Now, it's I mean, I just don't think there's any possibility that there's been a miscarriage. So we'd say a miscarriage of justice. No, I don't believe that's taken place with the Chris Watts case.
Definitely not. You know, and that's the thing is, like, you know, there's also, we have our Constitution and all of our basic human rights, and especially inside of criminal law, you see a lot of times there's a technicality of understanding of the law in order to get someone off. And it's such a double-edged sword, and it's hard to know where I stand on it, because I do stand on human rights and the rights to a fair trial, the rights to a speedy trial, the rights to have evidence. There's all kinds that go into that. But at the same time, it's kind of like, where do we draw the line? Where is the line drawn between something that is written in a document called a legislation or a criminal, law? I'm struggling to remember. I read it all the time. Code versus the victims, the humans, the human side of that, the emotion. Where does written word and law and regulation stop, and the emotionality of the crime and all of that start? And I think a lot of times it gets lost. And that's not just in the justice system, it's healthcare system, you name it, anywhere. I don't know. It's sad. Do your police carry guns?
Not as a standard, as the default setting, if you want, but they're carrying guns more than ever before. So again, perception is the British police are not armed.
Right. Yeah, it is the perception.
And they're still not. They still are not unarmed, classed as not being armed. But there's many who are trained, in firearms.
But are as a whole. So we have like,
yeah, as a whole.
I guess you could call them just like police officers here, beat cops, street cops, and then you have you have like all the way up. You have your superintendent, your chiefs, your sheriffs, it just goes on and on because you got your local, then you've got your county, and then your state.
Yeah.
You guys have that. Like, are the police officers that are like boots on the ground, policing, are they allowed to carry a gun? Or like, who's allowed? Like everyone or no one? Or
no, it's trained officers, really, trained police officers. They'll have units. They'll have unit and armed response units, firearms section. So, but there's more than ever. There's more than ever carrying guns. Around the key locations, if you want, to anti-terrorism, terrorism prevention. Strategic places, Buckingham Palace, Houses of Parliament. There's many armed police in them locations.
Well, that's good.
So,
but yeah, I think the perception is just reality until the truth comes along. All we have really is like perception.
Knife crime seems to be out of control here. That's people are commenting in the comments on knife crime. That is
that's getting carried away. The knife.
Yeah, problematic here, a bit major. Yeah.
Why? Because you can't carry guns. Is that it?
No. I think it's just a culture of.
If you wanted to get your license to carry, is that like a thing? Could you carry a gun?
No. You can get a license, but carrying, no.
So you couldn't protect, you don't have the right to protect your person other than in your home, when you're in your home.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a big difference, I know. complicated life.
Right. Well, we have been on for way longer than I allotted us, but I have had a really great time discussing all this with you and learning. I hope everyone learned a little bit about the changes, and hopefully we can do this again.
Absolutely. I need a more supportive back chair, because my back now is like,
You're on fire. Yeah, that's why I'm leaning forward.
Yeah, it's just like, wow.
Oh, Ivy does have. You can have a firearm at home, right?
Yes.
You can. What type?
Yes.
Is there like a limit on the types? Like, can you have a handgun? Does it have to be like? Is there stipulations on what you can have?
Yeah, I mean, it tends to be. People have shotguns.
Okay.
They won't have anything high. They won't have any automatic weapons.
Are they legal in your country or illegal?
I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty sure. I would. Again, I'm just educated guesses on these. I would say no. I would say they're illegal.
Okay, well, and a lot of people, they just don't understand what automatic means. It seems to be like everybody associates that with like Rambo style, you gotta get a clip wrapped around your body and it just, but that's not really, there's like semi-automatic or whatever. So I just wondered like what.
It's not, again, I'm not here to criticize. I personally don't quite grasp the, shall we say, obsession with the guns in the US. That is a bit of a, it's because I suppose it's like the knife. You pull out a pen knife, or you pull out a Swiss Army knife. Someone else pulls out a slightly bigger knife than a Swiss Army knife. Then someone pulls out a kitchen knife. Then someone pulls out a machete. It's like it just escalates.
Yeah, and there is a lot of cultural differences around guns and the freedom to and from, and then what I think it not to get political. Yeah, they probably do. But for me, if when you disarm a people, I don't know if you could look into what happened in Sierra Leone. That was an interesting case study to do for anyone interested, or in countries where it just simply doesn't work. And when you have a people that can protect themselves, I think you have a higher chance of remaining free. I don't know.
Mel, just before you finish, just before I know you're going to wrap things up. There is cultural differences. There always will be. Since time began, but there's a lot of commonality as well.
Oh, so, absolutely. Yeah.
Freedom, justice, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of movement, freedom of travel. Those what I would describe as British values. So I think that's where there is a lot of commonality between the countries.
Okay.
Because they do reflect similar views in those respects. Bullies, standing up to bullies, standing up to other countries trying to bully, standing up to individuals trying to bully others. So, there are a lot of similarities who want to be on the right side.
Right.
Yeah. We may go about getting there in different ways.
Yeah.
But
and
anyone
the
who
world is
doesn't
made
want
up of all kinds of kinds, and
anyone who doesn't want justice for
right.
victims is
Well, yeah, of course. But, there's people that, "Hey, Nick, thanks for coming by." There's all kinds of kinds that make up the world, and while I may be harsh towards, us particular things and actions of people that I'm not going to go into again, like, our differences are what make us who we are, and that we don't all have to be the same. And that's what's so beautiful about humans is the world is made up of all kinds of kinds. And when I don't want to start sounding like a Beatles song, but like it is true, we've just when you can get so wrapped up in this the legalities and the technicalities and the politicalness of everything, and like we forget that, like, man, I find it sad if I live in a world where my friendships are dictated by my political party. I think we really need to reevaluate like that. That's so sad that you couldn't have an emotional connection with another human being based on how they vote or what they like or what they do. That's like saying, "Oh my God, you eat oranges? I will never speak to you again." That's what it's like to me.
well,
So,
I see
yeah.
I see America like this. This is the best way I can explain it. Now, this is my viewpoint, my perspective, my
Mhm.
knowledge. If the UK was ever invaded, I believe the first country who would come to assist us would be the US.
Mhm.
I don't believe it would be the Europeans, and it's hypothetical and hopefully it will never happen. But it's
Mhm.
happened in the past. You never know, it may happen at some point in the future. Who knows?
Mm.
But I would think, and it's not like wishful thinking, I believe that the
Mhm.
US would come to defend us or help us defend ourselves. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's how I see the US, and I think that's where we have much more in common because from what I see speaking and listening to the US, they
Mhm.
kind of have a similar view of the British. And it's not about smoky stories and in the First World War and the Second World War, because that time's been and gone. But
Mhm.
I think that's where the Allies does come in, because I think we have the fundamentals and the basics
Mhm.
very similar, which in effect freedom
Mhm.
of a fashion. I know, there's less freedom than ever, but we're still free. There's still freedom compared to a lot of regimes out there.
Yeah. Mhm.
So we're gone off slightly off topic there, but
Yeah. Kind of wondered.
it's all right.
But I am going to wrap up, and I appreciate everyone that came and stuck around for the very long time we were on. And I hope that you learned something, and I hope that you can go out and make the world a better place.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, crowded source. I agree totally. We'll disagree on numerous things, but we can disagree without being enemies. That's not what I've gone off the point there, but yeah, we're similar. We're similar, but we can have different points of view and still be friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're saying, that's just because you have a different point of view to me doesn't mean I don't have to speak to you.
Right.
I have to stop speaking to you.
Yeah. Aw, thank
Over.
you, Annie.
Okie doke.
All right, guys.
Nice to meet some of your channel.
Yeah.
Followers.
Yeah. Pretty great.
G'day. Right. What's Wombat Dundee?
Oh, Wombat. Oh, thank you, Wom.
Keep it real, Wommy. I've seen a wombat in the reel.
Ew, they look. That one looks creepy.
They're strange looking.
All right. Well, we will plan on maybe doing another global Unsolved. What do you think?
Yes. No. Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. Well, on that note, catch
Take
you
care,
all later. Have a great night. Have a good one. Bye.
Take it easy. See you later. Thank you.